Welcome back to the channel. It's been a hot minute. We're here today to review the Cycling Deals Blazer. Yew! Okay, so this bike came as a bit of a Christmas present. Got it on about the 27th, I think, of December. And so I've had about 2 months to test it out. And even though I haven't been able to successfully race it yet, not my day. It has been on a series of group rides and I put it through a few tests. Initial thoughts, they're pretty good. And as a result, I think I'm in a position where I can provide a pretty good review about whether this bike or bikes like this are a feasible option for a cyclist. So to answer the question, no, this bike isn't completely stock. I've done one thing to it, which is I've purchased a pair of the Cycling Deals Boreas carbon clinchers. Try and test these out. They're made by the same company and they're $600. So all up, this bike has cost me $1,000. Now there will be a review of those wheels partly in this video, but there will be a special one just on these, and that'll be coming later when I get the opportunity to go and talk to my mechanic so he can pull them apart, give me a bit more of a technical breakdown. But for today we're going to be talking performance of the bike in general, and that will include the carbon hoops. So let's get into it. All right, let's start with the worst part of the bike, and that's got to be the saddle. Now, the fact that that's the worst part of the bike says a lot about how average to good this bike is. The saddle is comfortable. The reason why I have an issue with it is that it's too soft to wear with chamois. You feel a bit slippy on it. It's got a bit too much give. I'd prefer a firmer saddle, but I've done a ride without a chamois and it definitely hurt the sensitive bits. So it's sort of an in-between. They've gone for a saddle that they feel like can do both, and unfortunately it's a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none, but calling it a jack of all trades is probably a bit generous. It's just a jack, I guess, but master of none. So yeah, saddle, bit average. Not much to say about the seat post. It's just an alloy seat post. The real issue is that it comes with a quick release, and this makes it difficult if you want to swap out for a carbon seat post or you're worried about over tightening that seat post. I did a bit of thinking about why seat posts come with a bolt instead of a quick release, because it makes sense to have one. But again, it comes down to that torque, making sure that you're not over tightening or under tightening your saddle or your seat post. So it would be an easy switch, and for someone new to cycling, not an issue. But if you were buying this to do some more serious stuff, you'd want to switch to a bolt-on. There's not much to say about the handlebars. The issue that I have with the handlebars isn't the bars itself, but the fact that the drops almost feel like they flare in, which means when you're in the drops, your wrists actually touch the bar. I'll see if I can show you. There. So when you're sprinting, this isn't the most comfortable, and that sort of rules it out as a crit bike. Now the grip tape that it came with was woeful and it gave me blisters, so I quickly switched that out for my favourite grip tape. Shout out to my mate Nalac CC, who makes an amazing tape. So that was an immediate switch, and not an expensive one to be honest, and you kind of expect that on a cheap bike. So I don't think it loses points for the grip tape, but it is an immediate switch. I wouldn't bother riding with it at all. It's super uncomfortable. So then we go to the cabling. Now, the cabling in the frame is all internally routed. You do not expect this from a bike of this caliber. It's a, alloy frame. I feel like it's you know, above and beyond to internally route the cables. And as you can see, it's a pretty tidy job. So not unhappy with that, but because it is mechanical, you do have the messy situation up front. But you're buying a $600 bike. If that's where you're picking the faults, you're in the wrong game, baby. So in regards to your hoods, exceptional. It's your Shimano Claris. Reliable, comfortable. It's a classic case of trickle-down technology. These are pretty much the same hoods I was riding when I had 10-speed 105 back in the day. They are very comfortable, happy to ride on these for hours. Once you switch that tape out, there's no problems with chafing or blistering. The rubber on them is very comfortable and pretty stretchy too. Sometimes the cheaper bikes have issues with when you play around with the cabling, the rubber hoods don't revert to their normal shape. Not an issue here. Now, one thing I will address is it has a very short stem. I need to measure it when I get home, so that will come in probably right now. $95 mils. But she's tiny. Very, very tiny. And if you're looking for a more aerodynamic or race position, this stem, probably one of the first things you'll swap. But if we go on to the frame, it's a benefit, because this is not your attacking frame. It's a bit more of an enduro frame, very upright, as you can see by my position. And a shorter stem helps that. So for longer rides, the positioning is quite good. However, you are still able to get down into a more aero tuck position. And if you really wanted to, just whacking a 120 mil stem on there, they're not that expensive. So the frame is a big tick for me. It's alloy, it's stiff, it's compliant, goes over bumps well, but also you don't feel worried chucking it in the back of the car to go on rides. I'm traveling to Brizzy with my carbon bike and I'm terrified, and I wouldn't be with this. Excellent option if you don't have bike racks, chucking it in the boot of the car. You just got nothing to worry about. This baby would survive the Normandy landings. So we go on to the group set. Shimano Claris 8-speed. What a group set. If the 105 used to be the group set of the people, surely this is a case for it now. Yes, there are gaps in the shifting, and I didn't think I would notice it so much, but I do. But you forget about it, and you just get on with your day. You just go about your business. And yeah, sometimes you wish you had an extra gear, but I think you're lying to yourself if you've got 11 or 12 speed and you still don't kind of feel that way. And so you just make do with what you got. There are times when I'm going up a hill and I'm choosing between 80 RPM and 98 RPM, and I'd rather be sitting at a 90. But mate, the shifting is flawless. Because there are less gears, you never miss a shift. And it's just so easy to service yourself. Unreal. I guess if you're wondering whether I prefer the SRAM Force, I'm not going to bullshift you. Yeah, I'd prefer the electronic shifting, but what it comes down to is I don't notice that I don't have it. And so as a result, do you really need it? All right, so something I know I'll get asked is how much does the bike actually weigh? And I don't have those bike scale things because you know what, this is a ghetto channel and I don't have the money to go and dump on expensive things like that. So there is another way, a cheap way that you can do in your own house. So number one, weigh yourself. 80.2. Now, don't worry about getting in the nudie-broody or anything for this because it doesn't matter. That, you know, you're not really testing your exact weight. It's just a number. So 80.2. Then what we do is we grab the bike. Let me jump on the scales again. And that comes up to 90.2. So we have the weight of the bike at 10 kilos. And we didn't have to pay for little brake things or little weight things. You're welcome. Okay, so if you decide that you want to go and get this, before I do the whole review, it is worth noting that Cycling Deals have told me they're no longer producing this bike, so they're trying to run out the stock. So the reason why it is such a bargain, basically what they've said is even at $900, which was the original price for the entire bike without the Boreas rims, with the old rims on it, even at $900 they weren't making enough money on the frame to make it worth continuing to sell. And so the reason why they're down to $350 on the website is because they're just trying to run the stock out. So if you're looking at getting a Shimano Claris group set, it's actually a pretty good way to purchase it, because you're probably not going to get it for any cheaper buying it just as a standalone set. You get a bike around that too. So, you know, we're talking some value here, and the group set is a massive plus, goes in this bike's favor. Obviously the frame too, and I've talked about both of these, but the Claris group set, like I've said, is just on song. And the frame is stiff, it's sturdy, you know you can trust it, but also it feels quite good for what you're paying. It's an aluminium frame, it's pretty rigid, it's gonna feel responsive. So overall the bike gets a 6 out of 10. With the old wheels, it gets a 2 or a 3 out of 10. The reason is these wheels make this bike possible to use as a road bike. I did group rides with the old wheels and I was barely able to hang on. Chuck these on and all of a sudden I'm in the game. I'm not going to be able to race this thing even with these wheels. It's not serviceable. But I tell you what, you can hang in on a group. And if that's what you're looking at getting out of a $1,000 road bike, then hey, you're on a winner here. So it's a pass mark. With the old rims, this bike can't keep up. So you're riding by yourself, you might as well chuck a flat bar on this, be more comfortable. You're kind of kidding yourself. With the old rims having a road bike, you know, drop bars, forget it. It ain't happening. So there are some negatives. As I was saying about the seat, it's a bit too squishy, so you'd probably want to swap that out. You definitely want to switch the quick release, especially if, like I'm thinking of doing, you're going to put a carbon fiber seat post in there. You're going to need set torque, and you can't get that with like a quick release seat post clamp. So you're going to need to get a bolt clamp. But aside from that, switching the stem out, you pretty much have, with the investment of a new set of rims, a 6 out of 10 road bike for $1,000. I reckon that's pretty good to get a pass mark road bike for $1,000. Shows that there is a way to enter into road cycling at the base level. But have we achieved the goal of finding a cheap road bike that you can compete in? No. And so the quest continues. So we're going to play around with Cycling Deals a little bit more. There are a few upgrades that I want to do, and then I'm going to be flicking it on to whatever lucky person decides that they want to get in the game with this puppy. And I'm going to use that money to then try a different one. Trying to find one under $1,000 that I can upgrade. So if you have any suggestions about things that you think you might want to do to this bike just to see whether we can tweak it a little bit. Maybe there's some things you might think make a significant difference in regards to the weight, or alternatively, maybe there's some things that you think you might like to see in another bike, or even some cheap bikes that you've cited. Some people have given me some suggestions and I really appreciate that. Then hey, get in the chat. Let me know, because I am super keen. This project really excites me. It's something really close to my heart as someone that is really passionate about cycling but sees the cost of cycling as being such a barrier. So let's get this community going and let's try and find the cheapest road bike that we can race at a decent level. Boom, let's do it.